Station was coal in the pack house, I mean, in the storeroom, yeah. Good guy, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, but that's how you do the transfer.
Lost Val Hardy.
That's how it-
Val Hardy, we did lose Val.
She was coal in the pack house, I mean, in the storeroom, yeah. Good guy, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, but
It's funny how sometimes some people will do something and you just have the hardest time
no, you.
forgetting it
And
and
it tells you.
forgiving.
Awesome.
When I first went over to the pack house and he was there, he picked on old Roy Diston, son of fierce. And Roy was pretty sick anyway, you know. Val just bullied him. I've thought back on that a lot and I thought, looking back, you know what I should have done? I should have picked up a 2x4 and hit Val right across the back of the shoulders because he was just ignorant as hell. And Roy was not in good shape. But ever since then, I just sort of,
At Harvard.
you know, if Val was here, you know, boom, you know, just because of the way he treated that.
I see a big old boy taking 2 or 4 across the old man's backside, but he might be ground. He's lives up there near Steve. Old slick.
He put somebody
Yeah,
down.
they kept on him and kept on him and put that 2 or 4 over there in the old storeroom and crossed right below the butt cheeks right now, good full swing. That old boy didn't like it a lot, he got whacked. That used to be the good old days up there.
A lot of horseplay back when we first started. They put an
The
end.
boys could itch in the kitty and not blood and the chicken's heartbeat, you wonder what happened.
Raylene, how are you?
Okay.
G2 we've been waiting for.
Oh,
They upside down.
right on time.
You are.
Perfect.
You are.
Were you standing outside waiting for it to just see who walked in?
Exactly. I want to be right on time.
You're right on time and guess what?
Yep.
Oh, and there's Andy.
And so's Andy, he's right on time and
Ready to go?
we're gonna go ahead and you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna call this meeting to order of the Morgan Council of Governments. June 16th, right, 2025. So thank you all for your attendance this afternoon. We will begin, do we, maybe we'll have a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have someone that is willing to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda, Tony.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Do I have a second on that?
Second that.
Second, Raylene, thank you. Any discussion on that? Motion and second? Not all in favor, say aye. Our agenda is the minutes. If you've had an opportunity to peruse the minutes,
I do have one question on the minutes. In your members present, it says Tony London was present and Tony London was excused.
I was I was not here.
Okay, so they have you present, but then excused. So I was,
Boston,
I was at the
Okay.
Boston Marathon. So did you catch that, Jana?
What? I'm sorry.
You have me here as members present last.
Oh,
And excused.
and excused. So
You and Jeffrey.
I was at the Boston
You
Marathon.
were
That's
in
right.
Boston, okay.
I wasn't running the Boston Marathon.
oh, you weren't, you weren't
I
running?
was at- No, I
Oh,
wasn't.
I was hoping you were running it.
Anyway, okay, so with that correction, is one prepared for a motion on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Vaughn, second by Kelly. Any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hey, the minute is unanimous. Okay. Items for discussion, none on the agenda. First item on the agenda is the building permit running totals for the city and county. So Mayor, do you want to speak to that or
Fine.
Jeffrey, or Ty? Just kind of give us a little brief update on what's going on.
So, same stuff as, same subdivisions. We just had a pre-construction meeting for the Creekside Meadows subdivision this morning. So that's the one between Rupp subdivision and Pheasant Run. So that one's under construction.
That's a phase one.
Phase one, 25 homes. And then the one up on the hill got conditional acceptance from planning commission, but that hasn't had final acceptance yet from the land use authority. And that one's the 128 townhome development.
And then the apartments up there, Wardell's,
Wardell's, they have,
is it, they about getting ready to be occupied or are they, or?
yeah, yeah, they're,
That first run of them.
one building is, yeah, so they're about halfway
Okay,
done building. They'll build two other buildings that have been approved, so
and Nye's over by Napa is
underway, yeah.
underway. Yeah, it's underway as well, so, yeah,
Just,
a little bit going on in the city, that's for sure.
Yep.
Thanks, Ty. Anything, Mayor, want to add anything to that, or Jeffrey?
It's a lot of building.
Mountain Horizon, that's nice.
We're,
This one,
Yep.
Yes.
right, okay,
the 2 5-plexes aren't
aren't going
quite
right now.
approved. The 9 lots are, and there's 3 of them being built.
There's a couple of them,
Start at 4, but they-
three of them are staked up pretty good right now, aren't they? 2 or 3 of them. Okay,
You would expect any of this Valley Vista to start this summer? Or the Morgan Creek side and 25 down?
That one for sure.
I don't for sure.
that was pretty well underway, so.
I figure they might see some foundations in
Hopefully, the Mountain Horizon will bring some school-age kids.
Yeah.
It's what they call a starter home.
They're, the 3 in there have, they're not old enough for school yet, but they will be coming to school.
We shall see, huh? Yeah, we shall see.
That'd be nice.
How about the county? Does anybody have any update on the county?
I need better.
Yeah, I'm not able to see.
I,
I can't tell either.
on the building,
I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
You have the,
I have it on my computer here.
yeah,
going in on that.
nope.
Still,
It just means a lot of
I
building.
mean, that's not.
I mean, none of the. No, you go ahead.
So I know the plan developments like over at the Steve Peterson, they're just moving kind of slow, dealing with Board of Health, getting that all done. I know that he does have his first well is drilled and has, from what I understand, if I remember right, has been approved. And so he's getting moving. Trying to think of any other projects that are going on that.
How big a project is that?
It's an 80-acre subdivision, but it's all RR5, so there's gonna be about 15 homes,
Yeah, 15,
So-
okay.
which is just right, kind of what we're liking over that direction, kind of on the small side for what we like in Milton. But
Yeah.
we're okay with it, so.
As far as approvals lately, it's been a little slow.
Yeah, there hasn't been much in the last couple of months as far as new, I think the last rezone was the one in Mountain Green was the
Gardner.
Just a little.
And that's pretty far out.
About 3 acres, just barely got an RM15 rezone, right there by kind of over there by the Lees. As far as, have you heard
Make it
anything?
cohesive with Johnson because he's also doing townhomes right there, so they'd be doing it together.
Have you heard any more on the group that's working on the whole kind of village center of Mountain Green?
For a moment, I ran into them at the UDOT meeting for the interchange. He gave me like a sneak peek, but I can't.
I just haven't, I mean, they haven't come to.
They haven't come and
said
presented
anything yet,
anything.
so.
No applications, okay,
No,
all right.
But the Golden West Credit Union opened today.
yes.
I
Okay,
was there, the Rubicon Ceremony and,
Did you make it to that?
huh?
all right.
Good.
Well,
So, Mr. Chair, can I just make a comment?
you certainly may.
So the interest of the freeway and interchange and the other exits, for some reason, I guess because I lived down there as a kid and there's still a few that are existing. But they keep texting me and calling me and wanting me to flex for them to not shut those down.
Mhm.
I said, well, I don't have any authority down there, but I did a kind of a Well, I just did some driving. And one of the rural on the exit's 3 miles. I went up to Hannaford and the first exit, the second one, it's 2 miles.
Hmm.
And from there up to Echo, it's just over 2 miles. Coming the other way, so it would be the last exit heading west on that. Croydon is under 2. And from Croydon to Taggart's is just barely, I think, 2.2 or something like that. And from Taggart's to Round Valley is under 2.
Interesting.
So I just thought I'd give you that information.
I think UDOT's main reason, like if you read their studies, why they want it closed, which I don't really want to close. I don't mind them closing the off ramp, but keep the on ramp open. That might be a good compromise. I think their main reason is they don't want to mix the local traffic with all the outside traffic. They say that causes more accidents in their studies.
That's what they told me, but by closing it, you're mixing worse.
True, because they have to go out and around, right?
The biggest thing that I understand about it, and I shouldn't have my nose in this other than I've got a ton of texts and calls, is the maintenance on it.
Do they do that much maintenance on it?
Well, but that doesn't include their snow plowing and
One of their other things they had mentioned was as short as that on ramp is, they're like, it's kind of a danger because it's so short right there in the canyon.
That's
you come
true.
Over the hill. But it's like, how many accidents have we had there and how many are we having on Old Highway? And if you close that and there's a wreck between there and the new interchange, those people are stuck. You can't get them out. They are stuck there. So what happens if there's a major wreck, a fire, something like that? The Highlands are stuck. There's nowhere for them to go. You cannot get them out of there. So how do we weigh that? And Brian and I went and met with, oh, good grief, Senator,
Curtis.
Curtis, thank you. I'm like, I was there and I just, and he totally understood. We showed him and we talked to him and kind of, the traffic that's running through there. And he is all for going to the federal transportation secretary to get this, to tell UDOT it's okay. We're okay with you going under 3 miles. But he says what he needs is a letter from UDOT requesting that, good grief, man, it's been a long day out in the sunshine. My brain is fried.
get in
But
a letter.
from UDOT requesting
Wants to close it?
that they, to not, to keep it closer than 3 miles. To basically say that UDOT is requesting them to have that interchange within 3 miles of each other. And asking the federal transportation secretary for an acceptance, and that's really all he can do. He's like, I can go to the federal side and say, hey, could we kind of get an easement on this? And you say it's okay, but is that really what UDOT is saying? It's like, well, we're okay with it. But are they saying, because even Blaine and a couple others are saying, we're kind of confused by what they were saying in our commission meeting. Because at one point they're saying, well, it's the federal, but then they're saying, well, we don't want the maintenance. Well, which is it? Is it the federal guidelines of 3 miles or is it the maintenance? And, it was just, we even brought up, we'll put a gate there so that in an emergency we can open the gate. Well, no, we're going to tear it right out. You have a piece of infrastructure that can be vital and you're going to tear it out. Well, it's dangerous. So it was like, we're getting all these kind of mixed signals during the commission meeting as far as, is it the federal guideline you're worried about? Is it the maintenance or is it the danger, how tight it is right there at the canyon? Like, which is it? And so we're trying to figure that out. And Senator Curtis was,
I just thought I'd bring that up.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's probably not for COG meeting, sorry.
We'll see how that ends up, right?
Yeah,
So let's continue. One other quick question on that from maybe Andy or Kelly. So what are you projecting? Do you have any projections on enrollment for the coming school year?
Yeah, we do.
Up, down?
Slightly down.
Slightly down? Okay, that'd be total enrollment and.
Yeah, not much movement either way.
Okay, all right,
Not, or at least that's what we're projecting.
Okay.
Kindergarten, there's usually a little bit of a surge in August in both elementaries, but.
Okay.
And then we get on average a certain number of kids that come in throughout over the course of the school year, but
kind of static then.
static.
That was for my.
Is the
Mountain
operative term.
Elementary really down or?
Mountain Green Elementary is on the way down. In fact, they're kind of in a little enrollment cliff and that'll hit the middle school next year.
So,
Yeah.
The high school steady.
High school steady, but if things stay same, they'll continue to decrease as well. So,
well, thank you. For my own curiosity, I was wondering about that. So, okay, appreciate that update. All right, is there any other comments on?
if you, real quick, sorry, Tony.
No,
If
go
you
right
want to
ahead.
look at projections and stuff, if you go on our website, in the footer, if you go to the vault on the far right column, it's underneath resources in the far right corner vault. You can go you'll see a class size report.
Okay,
And in that class size report, you'll see projections. We presented this in February, a board meeting, and then there's also Scott just make sure we have these up. Maybe it's on the current on the homepage. Let's see what we got on there. Yeah, no, that's the tax rate. So yeah, those projections are on the website. If you want
Okay.
to look at them.
all right, all right. Well, good tip. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right then, moving on to the second item on the agenda, the Wasatch Front Regional Council Committee reports. Do we have anyone that has anything to report from their committees, Wasatch Front committees? Interest?
It seems like every time I go, I feel like I'm seeing the same presentation, but probably not, but it seems like it is.
Kind of know how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're just having meetings to have meetings. Is that what it's like?
yeah,
I'm like, I swear I've seen this one before.
okay, I mean, that's fine.
That's where I stand, but
Anyone else on that? All right. Number 3 is, I asked Janet and Ty and if they'd get a hold of, Kate and if she'd put this on the agenda for today. So, she did, and I appreciate it. Do you have a copy of that or do you have it?
There's one right here.
I have it online here. I have it on my laptop, but,
You wanna,
the corridor expense, that one and the mass transit tax report are both, I thought they all were interesting, but these two were a little easier to read and to kind of comprehend a bit. The ramp tax one, Kelly, is,
Ambiguous, it doesn't make sense.
we just got that today and I sort of looked through it, but there's a lot to try and digest on that ramp tax, so. But the corridor preservation and the mass transit tax report, I thought was pretty self-explanatory and made some sense. So, anyway, any comments on that? If you've had a chance to look at it today or?
You want to go to the next 5 and 6 and then see if Kate makes it. so she can
Well,
go
maybe
through
that's
this.
probably
You
not
wanna-
a bad
wanna try
idea.
that, or do you wanna?
Yeah, because she
Have a
might-
talk Again to us.
She may want to, yeah, maybe she's something she'd like to speak to. Actually, she's written some notes on it as well, so. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, so if that's okay with everybody. Let's take Kelly's suggestion. Ty, let's jump then down to you on 5, the new signal light.
Just a FYI, the mayor and I went to a meeting with UDOT and they have plans to put our first stoplight in Morgan, just off the exit of the freeway down on State Street and the exit, so they've,
just off the exit, so I'm getting off. and-
so you get off the exit, there'll be a stoplight. So
At
you'll,
the exit.
Oh, at the exit?
at the exit, so turning left,
Oh.
you'll you'll wait and then it'll stop traffic on both sides so you can turn left. And as you're coming down from 7-Eleven, you'll run into a stoplight, you know, going that direction, and then another stoplight if you're coming from 700 East. Then it would stop, so it would stop in those three directions because the other side is just a one-way.
It lets the straight off the exit cross to the frontage road.
Yeah, and turn left. Yeah, so
Well, I mean, if you were gonna go to Young Street Bridge on the frontage road,
you go straight through.
they'd both be stopped. Coming from the old highway and coming from.
Yes. So it'll be the same lane where you can go straight or turn left.
Yeah.
On one lane, and then there'll be a right-hand turn lane. So you'll still be able to stop on a red and turn right.
Just one stoplight?
Well,
One intersection with
yeah, one
stoplights,
intersection.
with
but I
three
think there's
stoplights,
Three ways.
three ways, yeah.
I keep getting off of Peterson.
There'll be a sign,
It's confusing.
there'll be those, some
Red,
sort of a
stop.
warning
Well, I know that.
Green, go.
Stop
Yellow,
ahead.
you
Hit the
decide.
gas.
ahead from 700 East and from State.
So we've arrived, we've got our first stoplight.
Well, we went to the meeting and it was just in the idea stage.
They had They had the preliminary engineering done and they had a contractor on board to make it a project, and then however long it takes from there is like,
Oh, so it could be 10
Is
years.
the
from
city funded?
no.
now. No, it does.
That station.
Yeah, that's all UDOT roads, so.
I think the only expense we had was if we wanted to paint the pole black.
Yeah, if we wanted them powder coated instead of aluminum. So
They were gonna throw that onto the city.
I've seen some of those since. I've never noticed
Just wanna make
that
sure.
before. And then I can't remember what city I was in, but when you pull off like by Bountiful or something like that, they're all powder coated.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never noticed either.
yeah, just if it affects
Let's
your
Look now.
downtown feel or whatever, but
Gotta match the flagpole, right?
yeah.
There you go.
All right, then, we got a McDonald's and a stoplight, so we're.
We might be able to get off of the
Sounds like it's time to
road
move.
coming from Colville into Morgan and not wait 10 minutes for people trying to get through there and coming. It's amazing at 4 o'clock how much traffic's there,
Yeah,
trying to get into the flow to come into the town and go to North Oregon off of that
yeah.
stop. It's unreal.
So anyway, that's that. Just since the main entities are here, we just thought would
Then
let you know.
tied, you're number 6 as well, the
So-
certified tax.
That's also something we usually do at COG is try and coordinate that. Kate and Scott and I met before just to see what our projections were. I think the school district's already dealt with it, right?
Yep.
Did you guys just accept the certified tax rate? I'm proposing that the city adopt the certified tax rate as well, so that'll be on the 24th than last year. But the
levy's a little lower.
But the revenue was higher, so
Okay.
the revenue, yeah, what we got in new growth was within like 3.5% of what I had for the new budget. So it's not enough to go for it, so.
0.004723.
Yep.
That's the new one,
That's
right?
the one we will
Adopt.
vote to adopt, yes.
And we're on the one right there.
We're
this
on
year.
the one right here.
The 05, okay. All right.
Okay, down that road.
Yeah, so we're not doing truth and tax.
What does it do to revenue, Ty? Did you say it increased?
It's right in line, yeah, with the revenue, so.
Okay.
It's, like I said, if we did, I changed the budget to match the certified tax rate. Because if we went with the budget, the original, the tentative budget amount, then it would be like a 3.5% tax increase, which revenue wise, it was just another like $10,000 or something, so not worth all the hassle and everything else. And then we also, as a city, have a proposed municipal energy tax that we're like one of the only cities that have never adopted that, but it's a steady source. It's not like sales tax that will go up and down with recession because it's tied to natural gas and power, electricity bills. And so that's if we adopt that tax, then we probably will let property tax go for a couple of years after that. Likely, depending on what the certified tax rate does, unless it does something crazy, then we'd probably be okay.
That met municipal energy tax, by the way, can be up to 6% on energy.
On energy, yep.
Enbridge and, well, we have our own power, so.
It'd be our power. Yep.
So.
Yep, and that tax is because those entities don't pay a franchise fee, like communications and some of the other utilities, so.
All right, any questions for Ty on?
And then the county, just any idea what your guys'
We haven't even
projections
talked
are?
about it. I haven't heard anything, but I wasn't at the last meeting.
But you don't adopt right now anyway, yours is at the end of the year,
Mhm.
Right.
so. So, just for your information, neither the city or the school
We're gonna
district.
Go with they're
We-
gonna stay with this recommended
Yep, so none of, the other entities aren't doing truth in taxation, so if that
this year.
comes up, that's a consideration sometimes where it's like, if we all do it in the same year,
That's for sure.
I don't
Then-
think we're planning on doing it. but
Okay.
I
the next-
say, I don't think we were planning on. There hasn't been any talk.
Yeah.
As far as
but
doing truth and taxation.
eh, depending on what new growth looks like, sometimes the certified tax rate will be so low that you have to adopt something other than the certified tax rate, even though you might reduce the amount people pay, it could still be considered a tax increase.
Uh-huh.
So if you're capturing any of the growth from Wasatch Peaks, you might still want to do truth in taxation to capture that new money from Wasatch Peaks, even though most everybody else would still pay less. So there's still a chance that you'd want to do that.
And then get on the explaining phone.
Yeah.
Just send them
Yep.
all to you.
Phone calls me over about blue garbage cans. That's the never ending one.
My garbage can blue.
That's what's going
Oh, man. And people selling oranges on the side of the road.
on.
We've been getting that one too.
Uh-uh.
Oh, man.
I haven't seen the oranges.
Purchased?
No, I wanted to just because this person's like, they're selling oranges on the side. I'm like,
I was gonna say,
okay.
my blue garbage can went off without a hitch and yeah, I got some strawberries on Saturday, so.
I drove.
So I'm happy citizen.
Farmer's market.
I'm like,
That's good.
I was thinking of getting a bag of oranges and now I'm just like, well, maybe I shouldn't because this person's mad that they're selling
Well,
oranges.
let us
on the
know,
side of the road.
yeah.
I think we finally got the city straightened out, realizing it's on a staggered weekly basis on the recycling cans, right?
Yeah, we're just trial and error.
What
Just put it out if it gets dumped, if not.
I know, I keep putting mine out. I'm like, nope, that's not the right week.
Next week,
Maybe this is the week.
then you'll end up missing the 1 week that they actually indicate. Man,
On the street trying to
Well,
find that big.
Being on that board of directors, I'll take 1 minute here to give you a little heads up. So there is a rebate that's tied into these blue cans as well. So what Wasatch, when they implemented this program, which we're part of, is the Special Service District. So they're gonna take a look and they're gonna see how much less Morgan County and Morgan City actually put into the landfill because of the recycling. And then they're gonna have they're gonna issue a credit for that difference. So some of that'll be coming back to the city and the county as a credit for not putting as much into the landfill. That's one of the whole ideas of it, is to try let that landfill continue to run for as long as possible. So I don't know if anybody, you were aware of that, but there is yeah. So I guess my cheerleading is raising the pom-poms is the more people you can get to recycle and put less into that landfill, the better. There's actually a little bit of a financial incentive there as well. So,
that's good to know.
anyway,
Go ahead.
No, the last time we met and we had that discussion about the rates and why we did the cans, instead of 40, it was 19, it went to 26 because of the cans and it saved the 2 landfills. We're always getting, beat up about transparency as well, and those garbage cans, all of a sudden they started showing up. But after being in that meeting and hear your explanation and the purpose behind it, was a great opportunity as a member of this group, also at the school, when people start complaining about their cans to us, is explain what we heard that night. Says, so when y'all getting said and done, the information, if they would have looked at their city bill and they looked at some of this other stuff that we were getting, they would have understood
Yeah.
completely why, not only because it saved the money, but it saved the landfill and it just made common sense. And the cans were free. And there was just so much to benefit from it. And someone at some point sat in a room and had to make that tough decision. And we all been in those kind of meetings where you've had to make the tough decision for the whole county.
It was a tough decision.
So I used that a little bit that night at school board about the transparency and sharing that stuff. But people in the communities got to reach out and they got to look, they got to read. They got to check the websites, they got to check, we got all kinds of websites for the school district, and yet we always hear that we're not informed.
No one gets on the
But
list.
so
Right.
that night, that explanation really hit home that great job in making those tough decisions behind the closed doors and taking all the heat from it because you know, it'll make a big difference.
And by the way, just so you know, there is a hardship case that applies as well.
Right.
If you're eligible for like, what do they call it? The homestead tax?
Yeah, the homestead.
Yeah, then they will qualify for this hardship for this.
Right.
So I just want to make sure you was aware of that.
I was aware of
I've
that.
been sharing with that with some of the people, the older people that have been around, like, spread the word, like, let people know that you can apply for this. So,
That's what I really got
Yeah.
hung up on in board meeting when we first started talking about this down, Wasatch Interview, the landfill. It's like, some of my comments were, I just hate to see some of these older people that just have a limited income and, or
No garbage anyway.
no garbage anyway and
Right.
an elderly. So I'm glad that they put that clause in there to allow some hardship, so. Anyway,
And we also just appreciate working so well with the county that we both adopted this same program, rolled it out at the same time. We have the same rate.
That's
That
nice.
was huge.
the new director of Wasatch Integrated Management Service lives right over here in
Oh,
Fox Point.
Fox Point,
all right.
Preston Lane. So he's
Hmm.
the new main man. So he was up to our meeting once or twice.
One question I do have on the recycle I've had a few phone calls from people in HOAs where now they've had the one can and it's behind their fence, but now they're like, where do I put the second one? And their HOAs are starting to, like, no, you need to hide that thing. It cannot be out. Have you guys had any phone calls that?
what are they paying for 2 cans?
Well, because they're getting fined because it's supposed to be hidden and they have they're like, I have
Oh,
nowhere
is
to
it?
put it, so it's out in front of their fence.
The HOA don't want
And the
that.
HOA is fining them.
Hidden behind somewhere.
Yeah, and so I didn't know if maybe the city, if you guys have heard anything, and there's just a couple people over in the only HOAs that I know over in Mountain Green, but,
They have room behind their
and
fence.
so I'm like, I think one of them was in Rome. And it's just,
They have room.
and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you,
Have they
but.
ever had a second
I hate
can?
to tell you what's.
Have they had a second?
No, they have the one can, then they got the recycle, and they're like,
Oh, okay, so they.
because I don't have room in my garage to put
Had a
it, I'm
second
like,
can, yeah. Yeah, that's another thing for a lot of people.
I
Have
don't tell you.
two cans, 2 garbage cans. Oh, want to save yourself some money, get rid of one of the black
well,
garbage.
this thing is get rid of the black one, and my wife was so excited about recycling, I'm just like,
I'm
whatever.
finding already, my short tenure personally on this, I'm filling up that recycling can probably
It's chock full.
more than I am the black one,
Yep.
so.
It's all Amazon, my house.
Might have got,
Boxes that-
mine got empty 2-liter Diet Coke stacked.
Just start smashing it down.
My husband, that's his Coke Zero.
Johnny Morgan. Kids and had that blue can, we've had it forever, and it's been amazing. Cardboard and that stuff that goes into that recycled, being able to, it's just amazing over the years.
I think there's a lot of people that's moving in the community that kind of expected to have a recycling program.
Yeah, I've always had it, so.
It's kind of on recycling. Have you guys, the tire program they've been doing and what a huge success it's been? I mean, they said, I think as of last week, they'd hauled 37 tons of tires out. And it's all funded by Wholesome.
Yeah.
They're funding it.
They go
bring
to Liberty Tire.
Yep, and they get
Liberty Tire
shredded,
shreds them,
Yep.
and then they haul them up and
and then they burn them.
burn them in the kiln, yeah.
Yep,
That's
And-
Saturday, I think they said that was the third trailer, and it was right out to the door and filled right again.
That was,
it sounds like they're planning on doing it.
I did 8 or 10 of my
Yeah, Wholesale's
mother-in-law's
like,
tires
"We'll
over
do
there,
this every
so.
year."
That'd be
Yeah.
good.
Um,
All the amount of people.
And so I was hoping that the word's gotten around, a lot of the farmers have brought
They had it over
some of their old
by
tires in and.
the county road shed. It was, yeah, I'd never seen them do that before, but that was a good program.
Yeah, so it's,
Wow.
from what they were telling me is that Wholesome's considering doing it on an annual basis.
I hope so. I hope they do.
It's been a huge success for
I
them.
think every 6 months will be fine.
As far as like
Yeah.
forming the public, I was thinking as a resident to start a podcast that just, you know, what's going on in Morgan County with these hot topics, like just the facts of why we have a recycling can. Here's the reasons, just like a 10, 15-minute explanation so we could hit these little hot topics that people have questions about. Because they'll go to the website and kind of feel lost or maybe interpret it wrong or different things like that. Just something I was thinking of personally, not as a commissioner, but it wouldn't be.
It's getting people to go, it's getting it in, you know what I mean?
Do you have a podcast?
No, podcast, but I've got.
Yeah, I've seen your YouTube.
We try and,
Have fun.
we do it once a month,
I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I've seen it.
so it's just more getting traction, I think, is the bigger deal. Once
Mhm.
people know it's there.
Belong to it.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
think podcast is great. That's a medium that people are.
It's like, go to this podcast and I'll answer your question.
I found out about it on our new electronic sign coming into town.
Oh.
That's where I first,
Yeah.
that's where I first saw it. That's been pretty
The
good.
electronic sign's been pretty good, yeah.
It's
I
been pretty
read that.
beneficial.
You guys are way more advanced than Mountain Green, so.
Yeah, yeah, for people, well, you know, if you don't come into Morgan much, you know, that's a problem.
I know, we
Nothing
missed
else
it.
to do while they sit there and wait to get on the road. They just read this.
I have stuff right there, so I can sit there as long as I want.
Yeah, it's,
Another thing is too, is for a community that by you come from both ways. A lot of people really happy with that flag flying there and the other community and being out there. It's a lot of comments about,
Looks
it.
good.
Really appreciate that on board.
That's awesome.
this is completely off topic, so I apologize. I was down on Perry's Lane the other day, my daughter lives in Centerville, and they have just opened up a milk barn creamery
Yes, they have.
Oh, really?
in Centerville.
Oh, very cool.
Oh,
Right there by Fuji Sushi, one of my favorites.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And then, there's one going in
Just
There's
this
another
week.
one.
Ogden,
South Ogden?
yeah.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
2 milk bar creameries, yeah.
So,
It's down there scooping ice cream right now.
That in Centerville, good for her.
Ty, do you have anything on the WPR tour that Kate had on the agenda? So I don't know if Kate will be here or not, but,
Just said Ed was supposed to be here.
Yeah, she did.
so did you have an opportunity to look at these taxes? And like I said, I'm looking at the corridor preservation one right now. It looks like that thing has generated what? $1,144,000. Expenses to date, 561, 636. 2024 fund balance was 529,764. Committed to the city is 250,000. And yeah, so, but yeah, I just, I asked him to put these, you know, if they wouldn't mind, here, and here's a question for you. Are these ones that apply to our COG, you know, monies that COG can, you know, approve? Is that something you want to see monthly, or do you want to see it quarterly, or do you care, or?
These
Yeah, the balance sheets, the financial statements,
probably quarterly. Fine with me.
Right.
quarterly? Kelly, did you have a chance to look at the ramp one?
Yeah, we got some questions.
So do I, but
On the quarterly thing, I would like to see it be ahead of the end of the quarter.
well, yeah, so technically the next one would be in July, but I mean, you know, because the second quarter ends this month, but so you would like to see it now if we were going to talk about it
Yes.
in July?
So,
That
so
makes
there's a little bit of time to do some erasing or some penciling in or
For
whatever.
questions, you know, some,
Yeah.
because I'm with Kelly, I have a question there too on the ramp tax too, so. Yeah,
I think it'd be good for us to have that information.
so quarterly,
We start out that way.
okay, all right.
The month before the quarter. How's that?
The end of the previous quarter. We should see.
And that reminds me of one other thing. I'm again, a little off topic, but if I don't mention it, I'll forget it. Do we typically have a COG meeting in July?
You're the chairman.
I was just trying to think of the past. It seemed like Ty, do you remember if we have? We'll have, maybe we'll take a
I
look at
don't
that and see
think
if
we
we,
did.
and see if we have a July card meeting.
December.
December.
Sometime September when it fell on there, I'll be able to skip December as well, but.
Yeah. We'll look
Just-
into it.
So Chair, just from the COG working group and the RPO, there's, I don't see any agenda items for July at this point. So much like today was just an informational meeting. We don't have like a new road list to approve or any movement on those. We're still working on, those groups are still working on projects that they won't be proposing anything for July, if that matters.
Okay. So let's go ahead and just, well, we just can't figure on canceling July's COG meeting. That's all right.
You need a motion,
Or
or
no,
can you just do it?
I think we could just say it's canceled. So on the ramp tax, local sales and corridor preservation, she emailed it to you, Janet did. Okay.
Sorry, I've got a
Thank you, Andy.
teacher going into the
If,
Financial Literacy Hall of Fame.
Wow.
So I'm gonna go attend that with her.
They need teachers that can be financially responsible with as little as they make. That's Hall of Fame there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
so if you haven't had a chance to look at it, if you wanna at your leisure, take a look at these different reports. Like I said, the corridor expense report was I thought fairly straightforward. This mass transit one I thought was fairly
I've
straightforward.
been asking for these for,
And
Years.
I was gonna thank Kate because we've been,
Yes.
yeah, we've been talking about this forever. So, but if, no one's prepared to. I mean, the committee funds this year on this local option sales tax is the $152,000 for the bridge payment. The city's Young Street West project down here is $315,172. And then the Fairgrounds Trail project is $39,900. By the way, I saw a new trail up by the fairgrounds the other day on the car show.
It was nice, I want
Yeah,
that.
it's up to the.
Mhm.
Horse
Yeah.
around there anyways.
So that's the projects that have committed funds for 2025, but yeah. Anyway, it gives you a chance to see the revenue going in and gives you an idea of where the money is coming from and yeah, where it's being spent. So, and if you really want a head scratcher, then take a look at the ramp tax. That was a recreation, arts, museums, parks, or ZAP tax. It's the Zoo Arts Parks. And that was a 0.1% tax that was initiated, Kelly, how long ago? That was a while ago. And
5 years.
2019,
and
wasn't
it
it?
was 29.
5 years.
And that is the one that's principally there to fund our recreation program. And that is one that we've kind of been asking for some
5 years.
some accounting from for a long time, but it is busy. When you look at it, it's
Yeah.
pretty busy. But anyway, I appreciate Kate taking the time to dive into it and look at it, so. And yeah, and I intend to, I think I want to spend a little time looking at this ramp tax and see what's going on.
I do have a question on the ramp tax. My understanding is that it's really supposed to be used for infrastructure and not really for subsidizing people to. Is that correct?
Can
or-
I give you a,
Sorry.
do
Please-
you guys care
please.
if I have a 3-minute history class here?
I would love it.
Years ago, probably too many years ago, when I first came on the city council, I was assigned to represent the city on the recreation board. I did not like the way it was funded from day one. I mean, immediately I thought, this is crazy. It was funded on a 44% county, 44% school board, 12% city.
Wow.
And it generated about $50,000 to $60,000. And I could never, ever put my finger on why on earth it was funded that way, although historically there must have been a reason, but I could never quite understand why that was the way that thing was funded. And so those three entities all had in their budget, you know, a line item for county recreation. And so early on, I got thinking, well, why don't we just, instead of doing that, why don't we just initiate a tax, a ramp tax to generate funds for the recreation program is what my initial thought was, is let's use that to fund the recreation program. We talked about it and finally, back in, I think it was 2019, the county finally put it on and it passed. So it's 1/10 of 1% that generates that kind of monies every year now to fund the recreation program. So for me personally, it was always, this is me personally, it was always designed to help fund the recreation program. That's principally what I saw it as a vehicle for. And that's why I said, I'm curious when I have some time to look through this ramp tax, and it's pretty detailed. Curious to see where a lot of this funding is going. And so anyway, that's a brief. And Kelly got on board quite a few years ago as well. So yeah, so yeah. At least to me, it makes a whole lot more sense the way we fund it now than the way this old 44-44-12. The only thing it did though, there used to be a board, a rec board that had a representative from all three entities. And now that it's a tax that the county collects, principally the county is over that fund. So.
And then the bond, as it was written, there was supposed to be a rec advisory board created by the county commission. And that still is not in place. And you'll have to get a copy of the bond. This is Tony's point, when the bond was written, the money was supposed to be for the recreation of Morgan County. Not trails and all the other things that started to fall away from it now. And
When
back
was
then,
the
with
bond written?
$50,000, we funded all the sports in the community. There was nothing paid to the district for lights and this, and we just donated all the stuff to help them do with the fields and everything on the weekends.
When was the bond written?
It was passed in 2019.
The bond or the tax? The tax was initiated in 2019. And you can see that on this report. You can see halfway through the year, it's starting to collect some tax money.
So the 40, was that put in place like when they built the Trojan Center? Or?
It was in, I could never get an answer to how that started or how come it was divided up like that, but that's exactly what it was. And it was 44-44-12. I remember that clearly, and then I used to beg for some sort of a balance sheet from the rec board on where this money was being spent, and I just never could get a really good answer to it. So
what was the board you're saying was supposed to be put together? It's never been
An advisory board
for the bond?
recommended the commission about how the money would be spent, stuff like that.
So do you
That's
have,
for that's for the recreation bond,
do you have a county council member that has that as their portfolio? The
recreation. I'm one of them.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting to say the least. And so, well, yeah. Cause it's all, right now it's all about more parks, which we need parks, ball fields, I guess not parks, but like ball fields in place for, which I understand is crucial, but it's like, okay, my understanding, that's why I brought up the question about the RAM tax, because as I was coming in, I was told about the RAM tax, and the RAM tax should be used to improve these facilities, but it's been used to like subsidize the actual playing of sports. That's, again, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. And so if the RAM tax is supposed to be used for these fields, then why are we using it to subsidize kids playing? And so that's where I'm trying to find, okay, is the RAM tax for Cause if we're trying to build a field over here by the fairgrounds right now, we got a $200,000 grant to work on it. So we're trying to get that done and bring material in and get, so we have another field over there for next spring. And so it's like, I'm getting pulled in multiple directions trying to find out where's the money coming from? What's it really supposed to be used for?
Grant was recreation, arts, museums, parks, ZAP is zoo arts and parks. I mean, I suppose anything that falls under that umbrella, you know, is fair game. The only, my only caveat would be is that if you don't subsidize the county doesn't subsidize the recreation department, the only way you're gonna fund that is through user fees for the youth.
Right.
And I don't know, I think the fine line you're gonna walk is, do you wanna charge some exorbitant fee for
Right.
user fees? So, I mean,
But I think, and I agree, it's like, we want to have a realistic cost. You know, because coming from the school district, if I charge a fee, I have to justify that fee. So I can't just be charging fees to make me money in my classroom or anything like that. So if we're gonna charge $50 for a kid to play soccer, well, what do they get for their $50?
right.
You know, and I mean, I'm just throwing out a number. I have no clue what they charge.
So
You know, maybe it's $100. I don't have any idea.
It's a valid question. It's a
Yeah.
valid question. But, yeah, I mean, well, I always looked at it as replacing this silly 44, 44, and
Mhm.
12
Sure.
and actually helping and actually subsidizing now, like I said, that's just my thought, but it could be used, probably falls under a pretty big umbrella, what you
Yeah.
could use it for, so.
Yeah, it says under recreational facilities, construction, improvement and maintenance of public parks, playgrounds, trails, athletic fields, gymnasiums, swimming pools, marinas, campgrounds, golf courses, and other recreational infrastructure.
Who's your employees being paid? Is it being paid through the ramp tax?
Again, I'm still trying to wrap my head around of where's the money
That
going.
wording wasn't written into the law.
I'm seeing something in here.
Like our
I'm seeing something in here that says professional and technical services.
Mhm.
And it's a fairly, have you looked at it?
It's a sizable,
It's a sizable amount, this professional and technical service.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it's not legit. I'm just saying, what is that?
and I think it's like,
Lydia went out and got an advisory committee, and she's the one that hired these people to help her write the contracts to try to get these
the grants
things, and then
and,
they pulled it back and started working with Kate.
And when you go back to 2019, you see there's just a lump sum of money there, but you don't see really
Where it went.
any expenses on it. So it's, I mean-
$97,000.
I'm not pointing a finger. I just think it's been a little loosey-goosey, over the years, so.
well, and that's where it's like, a lot of times when things come through, it's like, what's your description on what you spent the money on? Like, instead of just like this very vague, like, no, tell us what you're doing with the money.
Professional and technical services on recreation.
Like, what is that? Yeah,
Did you go grab an attorney or an engineer? Yeah.
Right.
And so, anyway, well,
Well, Tony's.
but it looks to me like it's being managed a lot better than it was, so.
So is there a bond or is it just the ramp
The ramp
tax?
tax was passed as a voting on.
It's not yeah,
I don't think it's
No,
a
it's
bond.
Not
because there's
not like a
no-
bond for like a building.
No bond
it's just a
issuance.
tax.
It's
Ramp
just a tax. So bond is the wrong word.
It's ramp tax, right?
The other heartburn was with.
That's just a pay-as-you-go tax.
Not the school board, but with the rec board, me and Tony was on recreation with that 50 grand. They run all the sports, they paid all the referees. And we never went over that budget.
But they had some user fees that were reasonable, I think,
Oh,
with
yeah.
that, yeah, but
We
yeah.
still have user.
We had to pay the
Yes.
football league referees and those was the end, and they had kids similar to what they do now. We had adults that would run the basketball and all the other things, so. A lot of the question is, we had a successful program of 50 grand. We have all this money that's been coming into this program and nothing has changed. You're still charging $187 for my grandson to play Wasatch Front football. And you're still paying these kids are all paying or being charged enough. From what I talked with Kate and them, they're being charged a fee large enough to pay for their equipment and the referees to the sport to which they're playing. Now, most of the football equipment just stays with the rec program. The soccer's, they might do the flags every year and get them for whatever they pay on that thing. So the question is, with all this, I still have a question. where's it been going for the last 5 years for a nominal amount of money? From $1 million.
There was a donation made to the recreation board by a gentleman here in town, and I think it was probably Clarky Lucas. And I think when he passed away, I think he willed to the recreation complex over 300. So 300,000 or something. It was a sizable donation he left for the recreation. But I guess and I'll just end with this statement. It's finally good to see where this money is going. Although to your point, I have to agree. Still, to me, some of it's a little ambiguous. It's a little
Right.
vague. I'm not.
I don't quite understand it all.
What do you?
I don't think there's anything
No, there's nothing
weird going on, but it's just like, again, transparency. It's like, I have this is what it is and this is where it went. So we know what it was spent.
I'm not suggesting there's anything malicious necessarily.
No,
It's just
no, I don't
that
think so.
it's just, it's kind of still a little ambiguous, but
But we see things as they come by every Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm like, what did we buy again and why? You know, and it's like, do we get a better description on that? Because I'm a little confused.
so we have that question.
Texts today from people in Mountain Greens. Someone's telling them that we're ripping out the pickleball and the tennis courts right there at Kent Smith
Oh,
and putting in a soccer field.
sweet.
I'm like, I don't think so.
That's
That would be
news.
stupid.
That's news to the rest of us.
You know, when you're on the council, sometimes you're the last to know. People are telling you what. I'll stand toe to toe with people and say, we've never discussed that in city council, ever. Well, this is how this is gonna happen. This is gonna,
Just had to tell, once it hits Morgan Moms, it's official.
news to me. I don't. Anyway. All right, well, you'll probably talk this to death tonight, but is there any other business that needs to come before a COG tonight? Like I said, just you can take a look at these balance sheets on your.
I guess one, cause I've been over, been at T-ball at the schools. Why can't the city water the lawns? I'm like, the city doesn't water the lawn. The school, they've been doing some irrigation issues. You'll see the fields burning up. But just so the county is aware, here in the city has nothing to do with secondary water. When everybody starts crying about secondary, that's out of our purview and we get beat up for that
I've noticed. that.
all the time.
Man, people are getting hot over that.
That's a separate entity.
That's its own entity. That has nothing to do with
For the city itself.
Morgan City, yes.
We would love to have it. Oh, strike that, would you?
But, when you hear of people complaining about their kids playing T-ball in a dust bowl at the elementary school or.
This end of the valley, right, so. We made Morgan Moms. They made that fine on it. I won't say much even there. But so we tied the schools here in the city to the secondary water, our practice field. So our maintenance people going there at 2 o'clock in the morning, starting pumps, and then the old manual heads going all through the practice field and all that. We redid all that this spring. We tied it into the secondary water system to the elementary school and all the schools around there, the high school and the football field. And that's taken some time, and then we got it up and running, and then the secondary water system had a malfunction, and so it was off another 3 days. But every spring, the lawns get a little yellow, but by August and football, it gets that way and they green right up. Another issue we had, and if you're on our fine website, is the fact that we've had parents in the past that did not want us to fertilize or put weed and feed on any of our school district lawns until the kids were out of school. So for the last month, we've been inundated with people wanting to know why there's dandelion weeds all over our school ground fields. Well, you parents, you gotta make a choice. You either have weeds and dandelions, or you put fertilizer and weed on there to help it green up and stuff. So it's kind of a fine line, but yeah, we get the same thing. And why the school district has not built the last flag football games like that, I had a number of parents want to know why we hadn't already built the Wasatch Front Football League Stadium so they could play their games in their own little stadium. We don't do that.
Sounds like a swimming pool.
Go to the county for that.
Yeah,
It's difficult with that. So we are cleaning up the lawns, we got the water back on, and so we got all that tied in, and it was a big job, but it would be great for the future. But it takes time, it takes people, and it takes.
That does bring up just, and maybe Ty can fill in or somebody, but I know that Raylene's been kind of a big push with developers as far as parks and open space and fields and that. As far as the city goes, as far as its developments are coming, what's the kind of the thoughts of the city as far as requiring developers to give some park space, some ball field or something for, because there's like, unless we get it from developments, there's nowhere to purchase ground to create ball fields. So I know Raylene's been a big one with these developers, like, hey, give us a park, you know, and I support that. Like, if you want higher density, then you give us something. I'm tired of bending over to developers to give them high density and get nothing in return other than more people.
Except a lot of homes.
And so, you know, and it's like, we've got to get something from these people because again, there's nowhere to purchase.
No land.
You know, we can't compete with a developer's pocketbook because they're looking at what they're gonna get in residences and business. So what's kind of the city's thought, or is there, do you have a direction, or, cause I'd like to see the city and the county maybe start having this conversation so that we're on the same page, it's like, we need this
Yeah.
open space and field.
So what we have is called a mixed residential overlay. It's an MRO, so we have it in ordinance now where we give bonus density in exchange for open space
Okay,
in any residential zone.
okay,
So what it does is in a single family zone, then it gives them by percentages an opportunity to do multifamily units, duplexes or fourplexes. They still have to keep single family zones, right? But it basically takes, here's how many units you would have, condenses it into a corner and then leaves the rest
okay.
in open space. But otherwise, we would just have to flat out buy out.
Anyone taking you up on that?
What's
So
that?
That was my next question.
We've had one, but it was so small, it really wasn't of any significance. So it's a 4-acre minimum. We've had a 4-acre development, but then it's expandable to a larger development. And,
So none of these larger developers have,
well, and yeah, and really we haven't had technically large developments because we've been doing 10 or 12 acres at a time. But it's in place for that day. We have a larger development, but our development pressure is just people being willing to sell their property. So if no one's selling, then, so we're actually growing at a slower rate than projected. It feels like a lot of growth, but
I was just curious, because, you know, as these, you know, as I drive down to my grandpa's old place at the end of Island Road, it's like, there's these developments, and I've talked to some people over here, and they're like, but there's no park, there's no anything. I'm like, oh, that's not me, that's the city. And so, and that's just the conversation. It's like, what's just so we understand.
so then the other thing we do is just detention ponds. So we make sure that the detention pond is developed as a park. So
Okay.
Pheasant Run is a new
Yeah.
subdivision, but
You see the kids over there practicing football and so forth.
yeah.
Okay,
So that's also relative to the size of the development.
right.
But the idea is if we do have a large couple 100-acre development, that we would get all the open space in one area and create
Create some field. Okay,
a park out of it.
oh, that's good.
Good question. All right, anything else? If not, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by, you get in this tie?
Just speak into your microphone and that's all.
Oh, sorry.
Kelly's was off, his is.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hey, almost made it in an hour.
It said, sorry, the guy that came to help her drove off with your keys.
Well, that doesn't.
After she
And
got her
then
car
Ed
off the
was
side of the
supposed to
freeway.
come to do the